Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Talking Point here on WESN, your content capital, the premier platform for Caribbean content. Sean Michael Small here, Sans Keaton Shaw, but the good lady herself will be joining me later. This is a bit of a serious show, so it's kind of hard to have fun with it. This morning's introduction and greetings, because, well, I don't know if the other shoe dropped, but it might be getting closer than even I would like, despite the fact that in the last 2 weeks I more or less was thinking something more like what we saw yesterday. What happened? What am I talking about? Well, let's go straight into this morning's daily review. And if somehow you did not pay attention to any news within the last 20 hours, 24 hours even, because we got wind of this right after Talking Point yesterday, the Deputy Commissioner of Prisons was allegedly attacked. Him, his driver, and his daughter were potentially in the line of fire. His driver was hit. Reports vary, but I believe right now he was hit at least once in the arm and perhaps one other bullet. There are conflicting reports that he was hit in the chest, although I think that's not necessarily substantiated. His daughter had minor injuries, but I don't believe that there was anything serious there. Thank God. The Deputy Commissioner himself, I don't think, was injured. He and his driver returned fire. One of the assailants were injured. You might have seen the footage in social media. We had the news reports going yesterday, and some of it you might have seen with updates on the police promising to investigate the attack from our news this morning just before the show. Now, there are a couple of things here. First of all, I'm just thankful that no one else injured. Not only was it that the daughter was in the line of fire, because she was placed in the vehicle. Her father, the Deputy Commissioner himself, was coming to enter the vehicle when the attack happened. It was potentially a mistake by the attackers, assuming the Deputy Commissioner was the target. He wasn't even in the vehicle when they opened fire on the vehicle. Maybe they thought they take out the driver, then he has nowhere to go. But the Deputy Commissioner himself and his driver were able to fight back. We've seen where ambushes of stationary vehicles could be very devastating for those inside the car. The Pennywise, violent robbery, the most famous local example, I would think, that comes to my mind at least. Ironically, given what else transpired later in the day, the type of weaponry used were not quite as devastating, because the Deputy Commissioner's daughter probably would have suffered much more grievously bodily harm, as well as the fact that there are situations where neighbors, they suffered gunfire into their homes, I believe. So one elderly lady, I believe she had a bullet hitting inside a house, breaking up glass, and another family, one of the family members had to warn those in the household to get down. So, and at this point, now, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Some of the rounds could have, that potentially went into the homes of their neighbors, could have come from the DCP or his driver. It's not their fault. There was no one, I believe. There are no reports that anybody was visibly in the line of fire. It's just that at the end of the day, we were lucky that the ricochets and the unintended consequences were limited to property damage. And of course, the assailants, I don't know how much rounds in total they got off. It seems as though they were firing quite wildly into the vehicle. They could have been firing at the Deputy Commissioner himself. He potentially is lucky to have not been injured. But the whole point is, when the violence escalates, You don't know how far it's going to go. It's not just limited to the target, right? It's not just limited to, we assume it's the deputy commissioner was the target. It's not just limited to him and his driver. His family member was in the line of fire. His neighbors were in the line of fire. And this is not a call for him to have to move out of his neighborhood. It could be some other type of target. An ordinary citizen with a gambling debt. Somebody who just got way in over their head. A gangster just walking past you in the capital. You have nothing to do with him. But because they want to take him out, you get hit in the crossfire. And I don't know if they were unaware that the young lady was in the car, but I am willing, I don't think it's reasonable to assume that, well, they were completely ignorant. I think it's more reasonable to assume they just didn't care. And I said it before. There seems to be no limits now on who could be killed. Because killing children doesn't profit criminals, right? It's just an extra murder charge if they get caught. Now, at a 13% detection rate, if they get caught part of the equation is very ineffective. It undermines the whole thing. Police prevent crime primarily because people are afraid of getting caught. There are a lot of people who would love to commit all kinds of heinous acts, I'm sure. But saner brain prevails because the first thing is, ooh, I don't want to go to jail. Or some nonsense like that. Because ordinary people can get caught up in the heat of the moment and want to do something in a fit of rage that blinds them to all sanity. Generally speaking, though, you just need something to snap them back in reality, and threat of the police is usually one of them, but in TNT, not so much. With all of the domestic violence, the Chief Justice himself, over the weekend, I believe, when the start of the law term reports, he's worried about that too, not just the murder rate. But I did say, when the Peterkin massacre happened, when they no longer consider children off limits, old people were no longer off limits a while ago. Rape, murder, robbery, whatever. Then they went to children. Women, we already knew that ship sailed a couple of years ago as well. That's the vulnerable of society, right? Modern politics notwithstanding on some of those topics. It's only a matter of time before other, usually off-limit individuals become in the line of fire. And now a deputy commissioner of prisons was apparently the target of the attack. There is a chance that it was the driver, they went after the driver, but how sloppy could you get to rack up an additional assassination charge on a deputy commissioner of police if the driver was your target? Now, this leads me to my second story. And yesterday, something incredible happened. An incredibly large cache of firearms was found by a joint effort between the Interagency Task Force and the Guard and Emergency Branch. We should see it. We have footage from the TTPS who published the cache that was discovered, if we could put it up on the viewer screens. It includes multiple heavy weapons, not just assault rifles that we are accustomed to, AK-47, M16, Draco rifles, which is an AK-47 derivative. All of these weapons are generally overkill in a lot of situations, as again we saw in the Pennywise ambush, where you could turn a vehicle into Swiss cheese, as well as all the occupants within. It also included, and you could see it there towards the left there's the barrel and maybe the stock, just under the shotgun in the first image, a 50 caliber rifle, as well as a Ruger 30 caliber rifle. And some submachine guns. But the two bottom rifles are the things that I want to point out, because those are long-range precision weapons. And in case of a 50 caliber rifle tends to be labeled as an anti-material weapon. It's not even, you don't even necessarily use it in the military to take out individuals. You can, but you also use it to take out truck engines and other pieces of equipment that are relatively unarmored on a battlefield. In civilian life, or it will go through a lot of armor. And the Commissioner of Police has pointed out, this is why we need the public's help, because officers are putting their lives at risk. Some of the ammunition recovered was armor piercing. There's also 6.5 caliber ammunition. I believe that's meant for long-range rifles. That kind of firepower, ladies and gentlemen, that's not meant to take out the average gangster. That's not meant to take out ordinary people who criminals are targeting with home invasions, or somebody with a bad gambling habit or a drug habit or whatever could get an ordinary person to run afoul of the criminal element. They don't need long-range, precision, caliber rounds in weapons or ammunition types that will go through body armor. You need that to deal with hardened targets. Now, pause on that for a second. This is what Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander told the media. It's in the video. You can get this video on the TTPS website after the footage of the firearms recovered. Then he goes on to speak more or less these words. This haul was a result of 2.5 months of continuous operation by the Interagency Task Force and the Guard Emergency Branch. Around 2 p.m. today, that is yesterday, we went to the Santa Cruz area where we traversed 2.5 miles into some bushes, where we stumbled upon what you're seeing today. We stumbled. There are a lot of coincidences all of a sudden with police work. I hate to say this. I hate to be the negative guy, right? I know some callers give the TTPS their props. Hey, you know what? Props. They got murder suspects in the Peterkin massacre. They got murder suspects with regards to the killing of Andrea Lallan, the teenager. Come back to me. The teenager who was apparently killed after making accusations against a couple for sexual abuse, among other things. I don't know how far up the charges goes. It's very convenient, right? It's a 13% detection rate, but for the last two high-profile, gruesome murders of minors, TTPS is 2 for 2. 13% detection rate on murders, otherwise 2 for 2. Now, it's possible it's only 2, right? In a situation like the Peterkin massacre, there's a lot of things that could go wrong for the criminals, right? They could make a lot of mistakes. It's such a big crime. There's a lot of opportunity for them to make mistakes, leave evidence behind and get caught, be seen by somebody, leave a trail somehow. And in the case of Andrea Lallan, the suspect is a neighbor. Sometimes criminals are sloppy. And especially in this case, this is not no high-profile organized crime situation. This is some people up to very bad things with a minor, potentially, allegedly might have gotten somebody to try to silence her. This is not criminal masterminds you're dealing with here. So it's possible, but still, that's kind of convenient, right? 2 for 2 with a 13 detection rate for murders. And then, after the Deputy Commissioner of Police is attacked, all of a sudden, the Interagency Task Force, the Guard and Emergency Branch, the public face of the TTPS himself and the Commissioner of Police comes and presents a haul of weapons whose intended target is not you, me, the man on the street, the business owner who might be extorted, the doctor who might be blackmailed, and so on and so on. It's against you. You have this firepower, I would assume, for people that need it, right? Why risk bringing something like this in? Again, criminals in the past knew, let's not overdo things because it brings extra heat. A 50 caliber rifle brings extra heat. I don't need that in whatever normal criminal activity you see, because we don't see that kind of firepower used in these crimes. So what were they brought in for? What's the intention? And isn't it convenient that after an attack on a senior member in one of the protective services, all of a sudden we just stumbled upon this thing? After 2.5 months, we went into a bush and we stumbled across something. I didn't even know what that means. The superintendent might be trying to hide investigative methods, I don't know, but his choice of words are very poor. Because right now, it's not as though I, at the very least, I can't speak for the rest of you, I am not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on any of this. Because I said it. If nobody is off limits anymore, who knows how far this will go? And these weapons, they're intended for you and me. They're intended for people who all of a sudden realize, hey, one of the usually off-limit groups got targeted yesterday morning. And let's not try and see who brought these guns in. Let's not investigate the source, as usual. And this is not something that I'm picking on the commissioner and senior superintendent Alexander for. When Guy Griffith, as commissioner of police, did the same tactic, he had, oh, look how much guns we found, and high-powered rifles, and the amount of ammunition. What do we say here on WSN? I can't speak for everybody else, but on WSN, Karen Shatera, Sean Michael Small, Keaton Shah, what do we say? Nobody was arrested. All these high crimes, nobody was arrested. And the last point I'd like to make is very simple. When they want to say, first of all, gangsters killing gangsters, no, now it's gangsters killing or attempting to kill deputy commissioners of prisons and his daughter and his driver. It's not just gangsters killing gangsters, right? All of a sudden, that got your attention? Well, hold on. When they want to say that crime is down, it's only murders that are high, but high crime is down. Really? The TTPS knows who are alleged gang members, but where are the convictions for being in a gang? It's illegal to be in a gang in this country. I thought that was a law in the books. Did that somehow go down? What about all the crimes associated with gangs? What about all the drug smuggling? It's not every day that you manage to find part of a shipment of drugs that ended up in the sea and coming up by accident on the beach. That's generally how we interdict the bulk of our cocaine in the last couple of years. By chance and accident. So, high crime is down. I didn't realize being in a gang is illegal, but it's not serious major crime. I didn't realize smuggling guns and drugs was not serious major crime. Because this is what they found. Obviously, they didn't find in anywhere close to 100%. So when they say high crime, major crime, serious crime, whatever term they use, is down, BS. It's just spin. And now, congrats to the Interagency Task Force and the Guard Emergency Bands. You have successfully eliminated a threat to your members and to those who you report to. But for the rest of us, this was probably not intended for us. We are victims of more basic level firearms, the number of which is unknown, but was estimated by your own selves to be in the thousands. So congrats for getting 30, 35 guns. You made a real dent. You took a real bite out of crime. Or maybe you just saved your own rear ends, but left the rest of us high and dry. Let's take a break. When we come back, the good lady herself will say, I've taken up too much time and I don't want to take up any more of her time. Stay tuned. This is Talking Point on WSN, your content capital.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
Let the home Store. Turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at West Mall, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love.
Alan's Funeral Home, Tunapuna. Relax. We know the loss of a loved one can be challenging, but we've got your back for all your funeral needs, from documents to the service and or burial. Let Alan's Funeral Home take care of you and your loved ones. We are located on the Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. Call us today at 663-1829 or visit allansfuneralhome.com. Alan's Funeral Home. Let us take care of business.
From Maracas Bay to Arapita Avenue and Piaco, Richard's Bake and Shark brings the world's most popular fish sandwich closer to you. Open daily at all our locations.
You gave us the inspiration to be first. We gave you the solutions that put you first. You walked with us side by side, and we continued to serve you with pride. First Citizens celebrates with you 30 years of achieving dreams, shaping success stories, and painting brighter futures together. And together, we'll accomplish so much more. First Citizens, together, 30 and beyond.
Are you ready?
We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready.
Fridays just got more important. On Friday, October 13th, Trinidad and Tobago's national football team battles Guatemala in a crucial Nations League encounter from 9 p.m. at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. A victory for the Soca Warriors will guarantee us a place in the quarterfinals with a host of possibilities, including the prestigious Copa Football and a World Cup seeding. Calling one and all to the National Stadium on Friday, October 13th. Let us fill it with noise and let the support reverberate. Tickets cost $100 covered, $50 uncovered. Tickets are on sale now at eboxtickets.com and at the venue from 12 p.m. on match day. Show your true colors. Be a fan. Be the ultimate Soca Warrior.
We're ready for the road.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. My strong opinions on the recent events in crime fighting, or in my opinion, lack thereof, notwithstanding, I'm here to welcome the good lady herself to have both a wider discussion on crime, as well as to use an example that she finds very important with regards to just one facet of the crime fighting system that is breaking down. But the breakdowns are not limited to that one example. So of course, I give you the good lady herself, former Minister of Finance and attorney at law, legal scholar as well, by the way, Karen Nitsushera. Good morning, Karen.
Thank you, Sean, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it yesterday, but I said, of course, I don't ever want to miss a session with WSN and obviously with Sean, and a lot of what Sean covered with you, the viewers, probably I'm going to look at, but from a different perspective. So let me start first by saying that I looked at the budget in relation to crime, because I'm going to focus on crime, I'm going to focus on remand, but in doing that, and with the most recent incident which she was speaking about, with the alleged attempt to assassinate the Deputy Commissioner of Police, at least they went after his bodyguard and didn't get him. But the point is, I am going to start first at the measures in the budget, look at a specific area, remand, and I'll say why I'm going to look at remand under the very wide cover of the curse of cocaine in the jaws of the drug trade. There's no question about that. So what did the goodly minister say in this budget that he was going to do specifically to deal with the safety and security of our citizens? Increase police training, improve police performance. How is he going to do that? They're going to triple the intake, well, more than triple the intake of police trainees from 300 to 1,000. They are going to operationalize, very careful language, operationalize the effectiveness of the 12 Damien patrol vessels. You hear the words, huh?
Yes.
Very careful. That's what we're going to come back to. And then they're going to put in a special jetty, a riverine jetty, and so on. And of course, we have a donation from the United States ambassador of 4 new large modern scanners, 16 handheld scanners, and we are going to purchase $80 million worth of new cars. And the 4 naval assets are going to be donated, I think, again by the U.S. ambassador. So that's what we have on the table. Now, all of that sounds good on the face of it, but let's look at the reality. And as I said, I'm going to start really looking at remand, because I don't think even the person who did the study, Wallace study, 3 of them did it in 2020, even he admitted that that was an area that had been not underreported, but not given the prominence perhaps that it should have before. So what, when we talk about remand, we're talking about pre-trial detention. And that means you have not even gone before a magistrate, because now I know that there's the bill about the preliminary inquiries, getting rid of it and removing it from the magistrates to the court. I understand it's in train. But the Achille Charles case really highlighted the issues of remand. But remand, I'm using remand today because, number one, it gives you just an insight, a little splice of the number of persons charged with criminal crimes in this country, charged, not convicted, but only a sense. And those are the ones who have not been able to make bail or who have not been granted bail for whatever reason. And also emblematic or symbolic of the breakdown or the lack of implementation, the lack of effectiveness of our criminal justice system in key areas. And it only speaks to whether, in fact, is it total incompetence or is it more than that? So let's start with the remand point, and then I'll just go briefly to the other ones that I mentioned. The remand really was spotlighted because of the attempt to introduce into the Bail Act that you could not get bail for certain offenses. In particular, it was murder was highlighted. Achille Charles challenged that. He was one of 5 persons who had been charged with murder. And when he was charged with murder, his matter had started after some time, and the chief magistrate, having left under very controversial circumstances, the decision was made to start his matter again de novo before a new magistrate. When that new magistrate heard the matter, she decided that the police evidence was not sufficient to charge him with the murder, and he was let free. After how many years? 8.5 years. So that brought us to look at the study, this Wallace study, that looked at the state of remand in this country. And I'm going to start with looking at the 2015 study, because I'm using the data that they had available. They said of 246 individuals on remand, 11% of them have been there more than 10 years. Of the 19%, 425, have been there for more than 5 years, but less than 10 years. And 70%, 5 years or less. In 2015 again, 367 inmates in prison, 367 in prison. Of that, 61%, or 2,235 on remand. And the latest figures that Dillon gave, then minister, in 27, he said 68% on remand. Now, remand means that's pretend. It means that you have not gone before a magistrate to determine whether or not there's sufficient evidence for you to stand trial in what they call your size as the High Court. So, under our legal system of presumption of innocence until proven guilty, and our constitutional rights also, I am not defending anyone. I am just saying it gives you an indication of the state that why does it take so long after all these years to have persons waiting for their matters to be heard and jamming up the system from the very, very beginning. First of all, where are these persons coming from? In 2017, they did a study, and it came up that over, I'll just say 10 to 14 years, 148 persons. 5 to 9 years, 515 persons, and 1 to 4 years, 653 persons. And the point was the average was 4 to 10 years for males and 2 to 4 years for females. Now, added to the fact that persons spend a significant amount of their years, wasted years, because many of them, why does it take so long for the preliminary inquiry? Why does it take so long, 8.5 years in the case of Achille Charles, and so many before it actually reaches before a magistrate and a decision is made? And there's no question that many of the crime that we're seeing in this country is fueled by the drug trade. If you have any doubt about that, first of all, there were articles written in the papers, the curse of cocaine, and in the jaws of the drug trade. And we have actually in May 2023, from the police themselves said, from their data, the gangs have increased over the years. It was 92 gangs, now we have with 1,700 members. Now it has increased 140 gangs. What is their main activity, according to the police? Drug trade, firearms trade, and armed robberies. The main perpetrators and they are the main perpetrators of shootings, extortions, kidnapping, and murder, and illegal human trafficking. So you don't have to wonder what is the main cause and root cause of our crime. And yet we do not seem to be willing or able to root out that. So that takes me then to why I said, really, using remand is just to indicate to you, the listeners, that remand is just a symbolic of, and I am not so please, listeners and callers, I am not defending the remand persons. What I am saying is, if they are guilty and they need to stand trial, let that happen. But don't have people in waiting on remand 10, 15 years. And what is even worse, when you look at the study done by the Wallace study, many of the sample offenses they gave, the time spent on remand exceeded the maximum sentence for the alleged crime for which you had not yet had a preliminary pre-detention or pre-detention inquiry. For example, they've said, using obscene language, you have people in remand there for 5 years or more, and the range is a fine of $200 or 30 days of maximum. Failure to pay maintenance, 6 months, where the average time for that sentence is 6 months. Breach of a traffic offense, the average time waiting on remand is 1 year. But what do you pay? A fine, and only imprisonment if you have not complied. So you're seeing this mismanagement, this incompetence. And I will now go very briefly now that only tells you a story. Look at the story. It has to emerge. The Ballistics and the Forensic Science Center. I was on a program where I was shot down, not literally, of course, for saying that the DNA system was not working. And they said, oh, no, we have to get. Well, why they didn't tell you? Why they didn't say that from 2018 to 2021, the DNA Forensic Science Center was inoperable, was not functioning. And that is where the testing of DNA and ballistic samples, critical to crime solving, arises. In fact, we were given statistics from statistics as to the number of ballistics and DNA samples waiting to be tested. And in the case of ballistics, it was over 42,000. And in the case of DNA samples waiting to be tested, over 32,000. That is the reality. And then you have a Minister of National Security coming and saying they're going to have a huge 7 times larger DNA center in Mount Hope, fully funded by a donation from China. And of course, the newspapers in one of their articles asked, give us details, but you know what they did with the Procurement Act. With the Procurement Act, they said there are certain things the procurement regulator can't look into or review. Among those matters are government to government, as that will be that, and national security matters. So we have the DNA, and in fact the DNA is critical because there is legislation that was passed in a previous administration that allowed the police and to take samples, what they call non-intimate samples, of persons without their consent, if there was reasonable grounds for suspecting that person was involved in an offense, and so that they could have built up that database. And that was since 2014. What is the state of play now? Well, I just gave you the data on that. But let's go now to the air guards and to the coastal marine. And we only found this out all by chance, because were it not for the Judicial and Service, Judicial and Joint Select Committee, we would not have found this out. We found out, for example, from the head of the coastal division, that 50% of the equipment there is non-functional. So when they tell you they have, talking about these vessels, he had to come and say 50, and he gave details. I'm looking for the actual figures as I speak to you, because I like to back up what I say with data. But he said that that's this year, just a few months ago, he said he made that statement. And not only are we seeing that in the Coast Guard, 50% he said they're down, but also, and we only found out because of the Joint Select Committee, then we only found out that all 4 scanners out of 5, only 1 donated by the United States working, 4 out of the 5 scanners at the Port of Spain port, where they can detect if there are guns and drugs coming in and out, 4 out of 5 had not been working for months. The Arctic Controller of Customs, how we found that out? In a Joint Select Committee meeting, and she had to, well, not she had to, she revealed that to us. So there goes the scanners, there goes the Coast Guard, there goes the air guards. The air guards, of the air guards, I think out of the air guards, we have about, out of 23 air guards, we only have 3 remaining. So we have a situation also with the DPP. How often has the DPP been asking for the provision of prosecutors and human resource managers to help him deal with the crime? He's sorely understaffed. 57 members, I've said it over and over again, yet it falls on deaf ears. And to me, there seems to be an effort, I may be wrong, to limit or reduce his authority, which, okay, we could say the Public Defender's Office, which is appointment of lawyers to defend in prosecutions of criminal cases persons who cannot afford the prosecution. But, you know, maybe I'm being a bit cynical, but that seems to me to weaken the power of or the position of the DPP by handing it over to another department. And it's not unreasonable for me to say that, because we did witness, it appeared, attempts to, by the various arms, to minimize the power of the DPP, saying that he could hire when he said he cannot hire, and so on and so on. So when we look at the Air Guards situation, when we look at the Marine situation, when we look at the DPP, and the ballistics and DNA situation, and more recently the 80 million for the cars. Well, we know we had the article, millions wasted on new police vehicles. Why? Because they say they're just not suitable. They're not suitable. So it's like, you know, who's benefiting from that? You have to ask yourself, especially since under the procurement legislation, they do not have to reveal the terms and conditions of any contracts that come under the heading of national security, right? Who is benefiting from this? This turnover, they're saying they counted over 400 to 600 cars just sitting on there rusting.
I just want to interject. Folks, not only is it a good photo opportunity, you don't get photo opportunity for fixing cars. You get a photo opportunity for saying we bought however many more cars, but then also kickbacks. New contracts for new cars
Always these
have
new
bigger
contracts.
kickbacks than a maintenance contract.
Exactly, and this man Ishmael, I can't remember his last name now, but he says he's one of the persons who, he says they owe him $2 million, because what he says is when he fixes some of these cars that are sent to him with new parts, they come back to him, and when they come back to him, it's clear that the parts were removed and other parts substituted, so it keeps the cycle going of having to replace, and they say SUVs is what we should use in this country because of the state of the roads, the nature of where these police vehicles have to go with a rough terrain that you don't normally go through anyhow, and they are, there's like a cemetery, there's a junkyard and so when you look at the Prime Minister talking about buying $80 million worth of new cars, and you see the state, millions wasted on new police vehicles. And the gentleman's name is, who I think is Inchan Ishmael. And so, what does it leave you to think? What does it leave you to think? Is it sheer incompetence? And the recent, finally, my final point, and I know Sean spoke about it, is his most recent incident with the Deputy Commissioner of Police where his bodyguard was shot at outside the home of the Deputy Commissioner. But that's not the real issue, you see. The real issue is that the Police Prison Service Association said they had written to the Minister of National Security 2 days earlier and telling him, you are installing, we don't have anything to do with the procurement of jammers. We don't have anything to do with installation of jammers. We're not saying our jammers are to prevent persons who are incarcerated from sending a shot to kill somebody or whatever.
Via cell
right?
phones. Yeah.
Right. But what the argument is that before you set up this system of jammers, over which we had nothing to do with the procurement, nothing to do with the acquisition, we don't know who got that contract at all, but before you do it, they told him that if you do not put in place something we've been asking for 20 years, which is authorized, so there are authorized phone lines there, but to put in a whole bank of, install a whole bank of phone lines where the calls can be monitored by the police, if you do not do that, when people can talk to their, because not everybody there is trying to call a hit on somebody outside. People want to talk to their family. People want to talk to their friends. Whether you agree with it or not, many countries have a restorative approach to justice. I'm not going on that line, but I'm working for Norway and Sweden and these other countries. But I am moving away from the point that he was told, do not start those jammers, do not set off those jammers until you put in designated areas new telephone lines by a service provider so that persons can speak to their family and spouses and those calls can be monitored. Because if you do not do that, you are exposing us, the prison officers, who are not responsible for the procurement, installation of those jammers, to a great danger because of the anger it would cause. And so done. 2 days later, we understand that the hit on the police, attempted hit or message against the Deputy Commissioner of Police was instigated by the installation of jammers without first putting in place something that they've been asking for 20 years. That is sheer incompetence. That is sheer incompetence and giving out these contracts. Who are getting all of these contracts? And why all these contracts? So I am going to wind up on my, I was trying to get the figures. Oh yes, it was September 2022, where he said 42,000 ballistics and over 32,000 DNA samples awaiting testing. And then we also had from the Coast Guard, I wanted to get the exact things that the head of the Coast Guard, Mr. Daniel, I think he is, his name, who was called upon to, account for what was happening with the
ships.
With the ships.
What were available.
Yes, and he, at a joint select committee meeting, I can't find it, but he did say that, he did say that, I just can't seem to find it, with the best will in the world. but I did make a note of it. And he did say that 50% are not functioning. And he said, the 4 naval that's the minister saying what he's going to do. So the bottom line is that we have to be concerned that what is happening in this country is there really, is it mama guy?
Well,
a set of mama guy. Is it the government really committed to dealing with the root cause of crime, which has been identified by the police service as being gang-related and therefore drug-related and guns and so on. And you see at every turn, the measures that they put in place are not implemented, fall apart, and we are last to know about it until it is revealed by some joint select committee or as the case may be.
Well, digging into the Coast Guard situation, right? Because it's not as though there's a public database. But I assume what the head of the Coast Guard was talking about is that the Coast Guard has approximately 12 coastal patrol hulls. 10 of them are patrol vessels, 2 are support vessels.
Correct.
Right? 6 are older Austral Scarlet Ibis class. I assume papers made for TNT because it's named after the first ship of the class, the Scarlet Ibis. I assume those are the vessels that are not operational. Then we have 6 Damon Stand Patrol 5009 patrol vessels. When the minister says, we talk about government spin all the time, or political spin all the time. When the minister says 12 Damon patrol vessels, it's 6 coastal vessel hulls, because 4 are actual coastal vessels and 2 are labeled as support vessels. Maybe that's a mislabel where I'm reading it. I don't know exactly, right?
Yes.
But this is based off of an international article. 6 are actual vessels, as in large-scale vessels, right? Not even necessarily offshore patrol vessels, coastal patrol vessels. The other 6 are 11-meter, basically launchers, like something bigger than a dinghy, right? Interceptors, meant to interdict on a smaller scale, because you can't pull up to a pirogue with this big Coast Guard boat to try and board. You send a launch. So we don't have 12 Damon vessels, right? I'm pretty sure no right-thinking member of any maritime institution will call an 11-meter hull boat a vessel, right? Of course, we have the two offshore patrol vessels, plus a third one. I don't know if the TTS Nelson 2, which is a former Chinese surveillance vessel, I don't know if that's operational. So we have 2 offshore patrol, we have 4 coastal patrol, 2 support vehicles, and 6 launches. And then the boats from the US, those are also smaller interceptor type boats. Those are not big ships, right?
The key to it is that he has said 50% of them are non-functioning.
So half of the coastal patrol vessels, the Austals, I assume, are not functioning, because the minister doesn't say anything about those, right? Those aren't Damons.
No, he said, or the coastal vessels, and he categorized
But the other thing is, when the minister says the 12 Damon vessels, they are not vessels. Half of them are launches, right? Half of them are not vessels.
And I don't know what has come of it, so I may be careful about this, though. But the 2 Austral vessels that
the Cape class,
from out of
the newest one, yes,
right, CG41, CG42, I think they call it, right?
Yes.
Apparently, one retired member of the Coast Guard was being court-martialed for deliberately damaging one of them.
Right.
Now, I don't know what has come of it, but that is the charge that was made against him.
Yeah. Yes. I remember.
You saw that.
Yes.
It said deliberately.
One story. Well, deliberately, right? Because the rumors are, and Prime Minister, please forgive me. Minister of National Security, please forgive me. Minister of Finance, please forgive me. But if the rumors against former Commissioner Griffith are good enough, right, for the public to condemn him, let's go into some rumors about the Coast Guard. The rumors are that either Coast Guard officers got a call to go out on patrol tonight. The implication being a smuggler's coming through and he paid somebody off, so let him through. The other rumor that I have heard is, well, these are offshore patrol vessels. They go out into deep water for extended periods of time. and members of the crew basically don't want to go, so they all call in sick, and the patrol, the sortie is called off.
Yes, oh, that's a nice word. You hear that? Sortie. Now, I just want to say, yes, that is the good, that's the language there. But I want to say to what you're saying, though, because less people miss the major, why you're putting so much emphasis on that, is because it has been accepted that what we have is a drug trade.
Yes.
We don't make cocaine in this country.
Yes.
And although there's marijuana, I don't think our marijuana can't rival anything like St. Vincent or Jamaica, no offense meant, but anyway, a lot of it has been legitimized.
We still import by the truckloads of marijuana.
But I want to say the major thing is that cocaine transshipment.
Yes.
So the reason why we are putting so much emphasis on the air guards, 20 of the 23 have just resigned because there's no work for them to do. The helicopters, I don't know what has happened, but I remember when there was an incident, they had to borrow a helicopter, and then the Prime Minister said, well, all the 4 helicopters are down because they're too expensive to fix. So the air patrol and the marine patrol, which is necessary to deal with disrupting the drug trade, which has as a corollary the guns,
yes,
and the money laundering.
Yes.
This is why we are putting so much emphasis on that, because that is recognized as the main reason for these gangs, an explosion of gangs, the drugs and unlicensed guns. It is in the papers, it is known we are in the drawers of the cocaine trade. So the reason that we were putting that emphasis on that is because unless you deal with that, you will continuously have numbers in remand, and that we are not saying defending anybody in remand, but what we are saying, how someone can spend 8 years, send them to trial within a certain time frame, you know, and so we are talking about the DNA. Why haven't you gotten the DNA? Everybody knows if you watch TV.
So again,
what's wrong with the DNA? And the legislation is there, you know.
Rumors are that the system is not fully, you know, working with regards to having a DNA database, because you need something to test. You get a sample, you need a database to identify who it is. Right, and yeah, but well, all of that too. So what Karen is pointing out, folks, we have major deficiencies all over. And who is being held accountable? Because the Coast Guard, right? If the borders are porous, you've been speaking about this from the beginning of the network, right? If the borders are porous, who's being held accountable for that? We're not. Hey, listen. Whatever Gary may or may not have done, he's being investigated. Okay, that's fine. Is anybody in charge of the Coast Guard being looked into?
Yes, and I will tell you something. You said about rumors, but I can't say who it is. But the person did tell me, and they would know, and I can't say, I have to be very careful just saying this. But it's that the person resigned because they couldn't take it no more with the level, what they saw in the Coast Guard. What to turn a blind eye to a lot of what's going on.
The unprofessionalism and the unethical behavior, the illegal behavior.
Right. So all of these things cumulatively,
yes,
if you look at it, you cannot help but conclude that it's not just sheer incompetence, but you can't help but conclude that it's deliberate on the part of the powers that be not to address effectively and implement what we need to really rid ourselves of the major root cause of crime. You cannot help but come, and you have to ask yourself, why?
I just want, we have to break for news, so I just want to say, people say, what about solutions? Well, this is a big problem. There's a lot of things, right? Of course, just remand is one huge problem that nobody seems to be getting right. DNA, border patrols, ballistic testing. I'll say this, we've reached the point where, and I don't know if we're going to get it from the opposition, but I don't care about nice buzzwords and phrases like stand your ground. That is just done to placate you. That's what that's said for. That's not addressing the root causes of our problems. If we get anybody willing to actually say we will hold the National Security Ministry and its members into account and not allow it to be run like a government jobs program where you work from home for all intents and purposes and provide zero productivity in many cases. Not saying that they don't have members of the TTPS that don't do a job. They hold the country together. But as Karen said, people like that eventually get frustrated and leave.
And it's too much. You see, when it's you look at everything, you pull it together and see, If this is the root cause, then you look at all the little pieces, how can you not conclude as an objective bystander, come from another country, if you want to call another criminologist from abroad, he's probably going to say, well, it's deliberate. And then you have to ask yourself, why?
I'm telling you, we
Why?
need major changes at the leadership, political and service chiefs potentially, but more importantly than change, because we've had different commissioners of police. It's not just change, it's about holding them accountable. Holding them accountable. That's one of the hot seat ministries that has more turnover than any others. Holding them accountable.
They can't be accountable if what I said is probably what is behind all of it.
But Karen, I say it, you didn't say it, but I'll say it. But they made sure the firearms that could threaten them,
that was true.
They got that off the streets.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Or sorry, they stumbled across it after 2.5 months of work, investigative work. They stumbled in the bushes across it.
After how many? After how long?
2.5 months of work.
I mean the guns that they got yesterday.
Yeah, 2.5 months. They stumbled across it.
What we got yesterday was they got it after 2.5 months?
It doesn't make sense what they said to me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I'll just leave it there.
All
Folks,
right.
we have to break. I'm being told we have to break. So news on the hour. Next, when we return with up the phone lines, you could ask Karen and me whatever you want on this topic, or if you want to go off topic, it's fine. But stay tuned for news.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I'm Sira Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Commissioner of Police vows to catch the culprits in Deputy Prisons Commissioner driver attack. Sports Minister defends THA allocation. Cars stolen in Barrackpore. Human Resource Management Association announces new board members. Now for the details. Commissioner of Police Earl Herwood Christopher has affirmed her commitment to utilize all available resources in the effort to apprehend the individuals responsible for the assault on the driver of Deputy Prisons Commissioner. The incident occurred in Barataria at approximately 6:45 a.m. on Wednesday, when prison officer Steve Phipps was shot and sustained injuries while waiting to pick up Deputy Prisons Commissioner Sherwin Bruce. Herwood Christopher confirmed the commencement of an investigation and noted that the police force is collaborating closely with the prison services in this matter. On Monday, Sports Minister Shamfa Kujo emphasized that the government has been making substantial financial investments in Tobago across various ministries. However, she urged for greater accountability in terms of expenditure from the Tobago House of Assembly, which possesses more flexibility in its financial operations compared to the central government. The Member of Parliament for Tobago West highlighted some significant investments in Tobago's infrastructure and development.
I am appreciative for the additional works that are going to be done in Tobago through other ministries, whether it's the $400 million to be spent on the airport, the $1.9 million to be spent on the Roxborough Fire Station, works being done at Rockley Bay, at Magdalena, the works that are going to be done at Dwight York Stadium.
In the wee hours of Wednesday morning, a white Toyota Axio PDY 4532 was stolen from Papuri Road, Barrackpore. Approximately 1 hour after observing the car, two masked men dressed in black hoodies smashed the back right side window, then continued to search through personal belongings. After which, both thieves drove off with the white Toyota Axio. Anyone with information or have seen a white Toyota Axio PDY 4532, please contact your nearest police station or phone numbers 269-7544 or 268-4159. The Human Resource Management Association of Trinidad and Tobago recently held a special general meeting on September 29, 2023, during which important elections for several key board positions were conducted to fill vacancies as per the organization's constitution. The organization is pleased to introduce its newly appointed directors, each bringing a wealth of expertise and dedication to their respective roles. Mrs. Rhonda Matthew Garcia has taken up the mantle as the association's secretary. Ms. Bunny Rambajan now serves as the education officer, and Mr. Joel Basanta has assumed the role of treasurer. Furthermore, Cavill Joseph Sant Omer was elected as the president of HRMAT, a testament to her continued leadership and commitment to the organization. Kimberly Chan Budram, formerly the education officer, has been elected as the vice president, adding a fresh perspective to the association's leadership. Fana Nelson, who had previously been appointed as the assistant secretary, assistant treasurer in July, has now officially been elected to the position, highlighting her ongoing dedication to HRMAT. The full board of HRMAT is now composed of a dynamic group of individuals, each tasked with crucial roles to steer the organization forward. The newly elected board reflects a diverse and talented team of individuals who are poised to guide HRMAT in pursuing its mission and serving the interests of its members and the broader community. Well, that's news to the R1WESN. I'm Sira Ali. Thanks for watching.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Since they were on sale, Laura bought these umbrella shoes without thinking. Literally, without thinking. Hungry for deals? You'd better come and satisfy it at KFC before doing something crazy. Wow Bucket, 7 pieces of chicken and 4 regular sides for $115. A finger-licking good deal.
Are you ready?
We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready.
Friday. Fridays just got more important. On Friday, October 13th, Trinidad and Tobago's national football team battles Guatemala in a crucial Nations League encounter from 9 p.m. at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. A victory for the Soca Warriors will guarantee us a place in the quarterfinals with a host of possibilities, including the prestigious Copa Football and a World Cup seeding. Calling one and all to the National Stadium on Friday, October 13th. Let us fill it with noise and let the support reverberate. Tickets cost $100 covered, $50 uncovered. Tickets are on sale now at eboxtickets.com and at the venue from 12 p.m. on match day. Show your true colors. Be a fan. Be the ultimate Soca Warrior.
We're ready for the road.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to open the phone lines but Karen has found the quote from the head of the Coast Guard, and need I remind you that we had a whole global pandemic when we kept our own citizens outside the borders, but this sort of thing was going on.
Yeah, it was June 2023, which is just a few months ago. The Chief of Defense Force said in a Joint Select Committee meeting he has 50% capacity. 7 vessels docked for maintenance, 46 Damien vessels need upkeep, 2 utility craft and 1 fast patrol out of service. And that is coming from, I think Griffith. I find he's a good opposition member. He and Lee. Because they ask good questions.
Yeah.
He asked the Prime Minister if only one of the 11 vessels are in working order, and the Prime Minister refused to answer on the grounds of national security. So I think he was saying that provoke thing. What I want hopefully to take away. So we had a very animated discussion on which we both agreed. Okay, San Fernando.
All right. Mr. San Fernando, let's not keep you waiting. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Sean. Sean, I hope you would see some of that rant and frustration that you had this morning. I hope you would see some of it for next week for ESP Ali when he comes back. Let me say this. When I called, on your program several months ago, and I asked ESP Ali about the murder for hire business.
Yeah.
And then I spoke on another occasion on the criminal enterprise and tried to explain what is the criminal enterprise in Trinidad and Tobago. You see that cache of weapons that they got there? There's no surprise, Sean. and you're making a mistake when you say that those type of weapons aren't intended for us, the public. So let me tell you something. There is a murder for hire business in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, for sure.
Because the criminal enterprise has decided that they are going to step up their game because there is minimal opposition as far as they're concerned. And it's shown, it's a business. This is criminality in this country has become a business.
You said that a long time ago.
And you see how it's moving. Now you're hearing people being extorted, business people being extorted for money, for protection, and it is getting worse. And that is why when I said the police service needs to take the gloves off, you now understand the frustration myself and my friend from Dabadi have on this matter.
But I think,
I think we're seeing the solutions very differently. Because I understand when you say the police service needs to take the gloves off.
Or the government.
But based on what Karen has said, based on what I have said, the government is keeping the police service back.
Yes,
in a myriad of ways.
And not only police, the Coast Guard, not only Coast Guard, the Air Guard, not only the Air Guard, the DPP. It's a whole
criminal enterprise, I included I told Sean all of those.
But then stop talking about the police, talk about the government.
In the criminal enterprise.
But why are you focusing on them? They, like the gunfire. Let me just make this point. Like the gunfire he's talking about. As I watched Investigation Discovery, those shows. When you send out a gun for hire and they find the person and then he admits that he was hired to kill the wife or kill someone who was an enemy in the drug trade or whatever, when they bring down the sentence, he may get 30 years, but you know who's the person who gets the higher sentence? The one who hired him to hire the person to fire the shot.
I can tell you why.
And this country will not we want us to keep the spotlight on the gangs, but we do not want to deal with the cause of the drug trade, disrupting the drug trade, and the persons who are behind it. We keep on the spotlight where we shouldn't put it on the government.
First of all, caller, I'm aware of the murder. I've been aware of the murder fire thing for years, and I've been aware that the price of a life in this country is a lot cheaper than anybody would like to admit, right? I don't want to misquote myself, but when I heard what it might cost to get somebody to shoot somebody, to kill somebody else, I was appalled just how little someone was willing to accept to take that risk. But of course, it's not really a risk, is it? Here's the thing, Karen, I understand what you're saying, but here's why even that doesn't matter. When you catch the trigger man, he is not going to rat out the person.
He can't, because they don't kill his family.
No, not just that. He already believes that he's gonna die anyway. To him, prison is like a vacation.
Family he has to protect. His children.
No, but Karen, I understand that, but
he's
also
gonna protect them. Shut his mouth.
Our criminals feel that they have so little to live for. They don't care about what happens to them. So what are the police gonna do? Lock him away? Listen, that might allow him to live 10 years longer than he expected.
It's true.
So with that kind of criminal,
and somebody gets in the contract
with that kind of criminal
to feed him and clothe him. Big business.
With that kind of criminal contract, our law enforcement has no teeth because there is no hope from a lot of these low-level criminals who are basically, they don't realize they're being taken advantage of.
No.
Meanwhile, nobody on the higher level is being caught. Now, I understand what you're saying about saving his heat for the ASP, but let's be real. The ASP, an acting assistant superintendent of police, is not high enough to answer to some of these things. He is being asked to represent his boss's boss's boss. There's limited things that he could say. That's why sometimes I speak for him, to give the answer that he cannot give, right? I don't know if that's the answer he would give, but I know he ain't gonna say what I'm gonna say. So I understand, but to direct it at him per se, to some extent, is not really gonna help there. Now, if a deputy commissioner,
coming in.
if a deputy, if a deputy commissioner of police was here, that's a different story.
That's true. That's true.
But we have another caller. Sorry. There's more to say. But
I thought I was animated.
Oh no, not today. I understand though the frustration of San Fernando. We have a call on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning to you.
Sorry, I can't hear. If we could boost the...
He said good morning to you. You see, you're so, then he said good morning to you.
Morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning to you both. I have a problem with how you putting it over.
Okay, sure.
Like the government. You all both know from the time the police do what they have to do. Like in Mr. Abraham time. Mr. Abraham didn't care. He doing what he had to do. But from the time his cameras out, is this one out, and then everything is the government.
But it has to be that.
Please, Karen, give me a chance now. Oh, God, man.
No, but I, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I think I provided the data, and if you wish to live in La La Land and put your head in the sand, with all due respect to you, go ahead.
We're not seeing where lawsuits by civilians about excessive force is reading in the police. We're seeing where systemic breakdowns of the criminal justice system is making law enforcement ineffective. We have another caller from Aruka on the line.
Please.
Yes.
Morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, but is this Sean speaking?
So, no, there's a delay. I am Sean. Right. There's a delay.
Okay,
Listen to the phone.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. I just want to highlight something Karen said just now.
Yes.
All right? About not holding the people who are really responsible for the crime that's happening in the country, like drugs and guns that is coming in. Right? I just want to highlight something that happened some years ago. Right? It could be about 10 years ago. There's an incident where a panel van, a white panel van, was being monitored by some police officers from Arima heading to Port of Spain. Right? The van was, after they stopped the van, it was loaded with drugs. But they were monitoring the van to see where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, when the van reached Makoya area on the highway, some wire came through. So the van, they didn't want the van to reach where it was supposed to be going. So they hold the driver and the person was accompanying him in the van. Just because that van was not supposed to reach the big man who are already in charge of the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is that be going on in Trinidad right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the guns yesterday are concerned, what I found in Santa Cruz, from the time I saw it last night on social media, I told my friends, we were linemen after a football game, I said that is fake. I don't know what you tell me. To me, me personally, that is a fake to show they're doing something.
Well, I wouldn't say...
They had to come better than that to tell me.
I agree with you, but what I'd say, to use of word fake is a little strong. What it's saying, it is misleading to us that they are solving crime because it's not the truth.
How it's fake? How it's
fake?
fake? But after St. James, you have a caller from St. James. Good morning, caller. Caller?
Let Miss St. James say that. I'm gone.
Well, I don't know if you were disconnected.
We have somebody calling.
But do we have the caller or no?
Hello, good morning.
Morning, caller.
Morning, Karen. Morning, Sean.
Morning.
Long time. I'm looking at you all the time. I didn't call much in the last few weeks and so on, but I just calling to say for you all to keep up the good work. And it's so sad to see that there's so much information now available to citizens as to what is going on exactly in the country. Because long ago in the 70s and things, you could hide a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But everything is out in the open now. So there will be the ostriches and them who will always have the head down in the sand. And My grandmother and my great-grandmother did vote for them, but they're not concerned about the grandchildren.
That is well
that
put.
is coming. All these, especially the old heads and them. Right, the older heads and them.
True, very true.
They are not concerned about the future of the country. They're
well put.
They're just concerned about
the party loyalty.
We is we, and that is that. We don't care what happened to the children to come and I dead, I go, I have pension, I have NIF, and I dead, I go on.
So true.
Them grandchildren go take care of themselves, man. We don't have to study that here. We could vote anybody in power.
Yeah.
I
think you've well put.
I just call to big you all up. Keep inspiring people that think. I want to say one thing, In 1980, some friends and I was going Mayaro, and when we were going, we saw this funny looking thing in the coconut trees. We couldn't really make out, but when we coming back up now, this is 1980, we saw a plane on the beach. The tide was out. This is not them little jokey little plane where they have in the airport, the little two-seater. I'm talking about probably a 12 or 15-seater, something to that size. There was also jeeps on the beach, and there was activity.
You saw that?
A lot of men with torchlights. So my friend flew along and said, hello, don't slow down, you will die. Keep driving. And this is 1980. We saw this,
And you know, Mayaro was a hot spot,
I young and at that time and thing. And I waiting now. Whole day I listen to news the morning, night, the next day, nothing.
But you know, let's say quickly,
Mayaro was waiting, so thank you.
The main,
okay, bye.
Bye, caller, thank you.
In the 80s, the Mayaro was a hotspot for drugs, and then $30 million worth of cocaine just came up on shore in Mayaro the other day. So maybe it started back.
Karen, notice when somebody stole the criminals' cocaine, the criminals found that guy and killed him. But we can't find the other people who made off with cocaine before they got parted. We have a call on the line. Claxton Bay. Is this Mr. Fisherman? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sean.
Morning.
Good lady.
Morning.
Yeah, well, we having a $16,000 per month collecting garbage per house. We having ladders buy for $50,000 for the fire station for one.
Yeah, that's true. That fire
Wood ladders they're talking about,
It's true.
So check it out and see, and you're getting that same ladder for about roughly $3,000 in the outside market.
Yeah.
So who it is? What would you want to say? The small man like me, the crime is small, not really small crime like me. You say me, the fisherman.
Exactly.
But what about the criminals with the collars, the jacks and ties, who high up
making the decisions?
The high up criminals. So what about them? Who's really monitoring them?
They have no way to monitor them.
Let's know of it.
Thank you, caller.
And you know, as you said, at the penal station, they built a beautiful state-of-the-art penal station.
Yes.
And no fire trucks.
No fire trucks.
No fire trucks.
We have another caller. We have another caller from San Juan. Good morning. It's not the only station.
Good morning to the panel.
Morning,
Michael. Ms. Teixeira.
Yes, good morning.
First, I'd just like to point out the first item I want to draw both of you all attention to. You see that big arms find in the Santa Cruz forest? I'm not too impressed with that. I just say
not alone.
It's a cheap public relations stunt put on by the Trinidad and Tobago police force.
Under the instructions from the government. Don't ever forget that. I was in cabinet. Nobody could do what they're doing unless that come in from the cabinet.
Especially this commissioner.
You understand that? You understand
that? I'll that for now. But what I called for really, my second point is, we the members of the public, Sean Michael and Mrs. Nunes Teixeira, we members of the public are always fed with this narrative concerning the customs, that the scanners are not working. And we only hear this, as Mrs. Nunes Teixeira pointed out, that whenever the controller of customs, whoever the individual is, he or she would appear before a joint select committee of parliament and tell the select committee, well, the scanners on the ports, the scanner is not working. And we just take that for granted. no Minister of National Security who has the responsibility for customs and all of these things, where the importation of these containers are coming in by hundreds and thousands per week. No Minister of National Security will make it his or her duty to go down to the customs area, the cess area where these containers are supposed to be screened. And they just take it in the Joint Select Committee that the Controller of Customs says that the scanners are not working. These scanners cost the taxpayers millions of dollars, you know. And you just, what is the reason for the malfunction? Is there a technical difficulty and an electrical problem? I'm just a layman. or is the Controller of Customs, is he or she just getting it from her lower ranked officers that Madam Controller, Mr. Controller, the scanner is not working, and the Controller of Customs just takes that.
Okay, I just want to tell you something very quickly, Sue.
Thank you for that, but we have another caller waiting.
I was going to correct him. Customs and Excise falls under the Ministry of Finance, Board of Inland Revenue and Customs and Excise, but you work together in the Ministry of National Security. Just to correct that, and it's 3 out of the 19 manual bays for check-in. Only 3 of them are manned, and the fact is the scanners that donated by the United States, don't be surprised that they're going to start not working too.
So we have our last caller from El Socorro. Good morning, caller. You're on here.
Yeah, good morning, Mrs. Teixeira. Good morning, Sean.
Morning.
I would be very distressed to hear or read, as the last one of your callers stated this about a couple of minutes ago, that cache of arms that the police displayed in the police administration building yesterday, I believe, was fake. I would be extremely distressed to hear that. But anyway, we talked about firearms, and I'm referring to the Newsday article by Ryan Hamilton Davis on October the 10th. The Minister of National Security is quoted as saying that the police had recovered 521 firearms for the year. And I remember when asked about how many illegal firearms are in the country, I think he stated about 10,000, which in my estimation is just a very low figure. It could be 20,000 plus. So, and then I mean, I'll be brief here. He called on the public to provide information to police on the location of firearms. Mr. Sean, I get retired, you know. I want to live a little, longer.
Who is going to go forward? And I want to say something to your comment about how you'd find it very difficult to believe it. And that is the problem, because there's little confidence. You see, the confidence level in this government in terms of safety and security is at a low minimum. People don't believe them.
One of the callers basically gave an example to what I was implying, where he talked about the white van with drugs, and they were looking to see where it was going to go, and then they got instructions, don't let it go where it's supposed to go. Don't let it go to somebody higher up the food chain. Take it now, right? I very much believe that when the senior superintendent, Alexander, said that it was a 2-month plus operation, they were monitoring that site. They wanted to see who was coming back to that site. They wanted to see who owned those guns. And then the minute that the Deputy Commissioner of Police was fired upon, the powers that be realized, wait now, a 50 caliber rifle could go through my armored car. Let's take it all up now. Are we going to get who brought those guns in?
We're looking bad.
So we need a win, and we need to make sure that those armor-piercing rounds that the Commissioner is so afraid of.
Deflect.
So we get things that threaten us off the streets, right? But we don't actually get the people who brought it in. So potentially more could come, because as the last caller pointed out, the estimates are is 10,000, and what we get might be 500. Maybe.
So you know what my conclusion is? The key to it is disrupting the drug trade, and it is clear that this government is not committed to do that. From everything I've said today, that's not my opinion, that's the data. And those who want to pretend that they're not seeing the reality because of some tribal, tribal
politics?
Yes, loyalty, that you have to be loyal first to your country. Your country comes first. And if your country comes first, you cannot continue to support a government where the data is clear that they are not doing enough, and they, for some reasons best known to themselves, to deal with the root cause of crime and gangs in this country, which is the drug trade with a corollary of unlicensed guns.
Just to wrap things up, if we had a litigious society where criminals were being able to sue the state for wrongful prosecution en masse and for excessive force en masse, we have those lawsuits. But the ratio of the amount of people in remand, of the amount of people suspected of being criminals, etc., etc., it doesn't come even close. We don't have this drug lord who they tried to arrest 7 times and he was able to counter-sue the states. We ain't even get one sniff of a suspicion of a maybe, of a we might. No, none of that. So it's not just about, oh, the police, they can't do anything, they can't do anything. It's not that. I mean, they had some police that lied about shooting their own fellow police officer in the neck. Let's not forget about that. They could do that, right? Let's not forget about that. But also, when the Prime Minister wants to hide behind, and he's not the only politician that does this.
But he's the Prime Minister.
Right?
So
but he is the Prime Minister. But I just
want
I'm not trying to single him out. When he hides behind, when he was asked about the Coast Guard vessels and said, I cannot comment on it because it's an issue of national security, right? But yet the Joint Select Committee is going to reveal that to the public. So really and truly, what national security secrets are being protected? You don't understand
the national security is big business?
Well,
big business. The cars, feeding all them criminals. Along with the state, they have to feed them.
It's not just the cars. It's not just because we have 1,000 new jobs.
Oh yeah, that's true.
In the jobs program, and it's not going to be temporary 3-month contracts for a police officer. That's 1,000 new happy voters for whichever side gets the benefit from them. That's all I'll say about that.
We have to go into the jobs program,
folks. We have to go. Yeah. I am fed up with the gangsters killing gangsters excuse. I am fed up with all other crimes, major crimes, except murders are down excuse.
Don't tell Elder Christopher that.
Well, I already did. Sucks to be here, right? I'm sorry. I know you wanted a participation trophy and to put commission on your resume, but it's actually a job that actually has to get things done.
She's been challenged for that appointment.
Listen, children are dying. And as one caller pointed out, it's not about you. It might not even be about me.
Haiti, you know.
It's about the teenagers and the minors, the small children who are being caught in the crossfire.
You don't into Haiti, you know.
You don't even care about me. You don't even care about yourself. Care about them and the future of our country.
True.
Things are getting a little bit worse. Well, that's from the caller. All props to him. But I've been speaking about violence against children for almost a year now. And finally, something's being done. Yeah, right. It's all lip service. Folks, as my co-host always says, this could be a good day if we make it a good day. And that includes taking our governance more seriously. Do your best. Don't be down. Stay positive. And we will see you tomorrow morning. Goodbye.
WESN